hunting rifle, so we figured it would be fitting for this test. Just to go over how unlikely this shot is from, somebody without any training. I went on ChatGPT and I put in some of the parameters basically, and it kind of came up with a couple different answers. So basically, a highly trained sniper, competitive shooter, supporting a prone position, has a 90% chance of hitting a kill shot, right? So basically from here up. A casual shooter, so someone maybe who hunts quite often, drops down to almost 20 to 50%. An untrained person, it says it drops into the single digits to hit something at that range. So, here we go. A couple other things to think about, right? If you're not shooting with a bipod on the front of your gun, you kind of got to hold your neck, at a very uncomfortable angle, which makes the gun horribly unstable. So I'm going to try and use this backpack here as somewhat of a brace, give me a fighting chance at hitting that target. Which is kind of the point I was trying to make. There's so many things that come into factor here. We're gonna shoot a couple more rounds. We're gonna actually see if we can hit that thing. But there's just a lot of things that come into play, and you would just have to be a phenomenal marksman to have one shot with a bunch of people around. We're gonna go ahead and shoot a couple more rounds downrange, see if we can get lucky and hit the target. You have to know how to make certain adjustments with the windage and the elevation changes, how far to be zoomed in and zoomed out on the scope. So someone to make this shot would really have to know what they were doing. So let's see if we can make this. Okay, help me out here a little bit. There we go. But as you can see, with how low the gun was before, my neck was so crammed up. That's why it's important to have a bipod. All right, we are clear. Okay, that was, I think, a little low. However, this scope is not great, and for hitting something that small at this distance, it's not what it was designed to do. So you'd have to have actually an accurate scope. Let's load it again. We'll shoot one more time, then we'll go kind of see where we hit. Well, definitely missed again, unfortunately. But honestly, that kind of goes to show you that with the setup that we did, we shot this gun at 50 yards and then 100 yards, and we were right on, a little bit low. Obviously making those adjustments for this distance, and I still can't even hit that. And I bet when we go look down there, I'm going to be kind of all over the place, right? Because you have to think about this. I had to climb up a ladder to get up here. It's hot. I'm kind of zipping up and down. I'm a little stressed. I've got to film and stuff. So like, all those things you have to think about when you're going to take a shot. So for somebody to be able to hop on a roof in the hot sun and lower their heart rate down, right? Because every time you go to breathe through the scope, right, everything's connected. So basically when I breathe, the gun is going to move slightly, right? Might not make a difference this close, but extend that movement 100, 200 yards down range, and you're going to be off by, a huge margin. So again, you got to know how to control your breath. You got to know what scope to use. You got to know what bullets to use, what gun is the right power. Yeah. Well, I did a lot better than I thought I was going to do from that distance away. A couple things to think about. This is a stationary target. Think about trying to hit a target that's moving around unpredictably. Think about that. Also, you got to think about how I missed off to the right. That's because when I'm shooting, I'm pulling my trigger finger and the gun's jerking to the right. I would have to train for years to be able to hit a shot this precise consistently at 200 yards.